listening to Beyond Boss Fights, gaming, technology, movies, and more.
Hello there. Welcome everybody to Beyond Boss Fights, number 31. We have me, Brax Wolf, still here. Also with me today is DJ Pimp Daddy, straight from the Natty.
Woohoo! And we have sound.
Yes, we do. We do. We are probably not going to talk about that particular struggle here tonight. But
Thanks,
as you
Windows 10.
you might have noticed, we have a new theme song. And it took us a really, really long time tonight to actually get it to play.
There was struggle.
Indeed. Yeah, there was a struggle. The struggle is real.
About an hour of struggle, to be exact.
Ideally, we would have had that all ready to go with the reboot of the show last week, but we didn't have it yet. So we went ahead and used the old vintage music that I came up with my limited musical talent. This one was actually professionally done, and so I really like it a lot. It's kind of a new twist on an old theme song, and I hope everybody else liked it too. Let us know. Not like we're going to change it now, but we welcome your feedback at any time.
Your vote does not count.
No. So yeah, that was the. I guess that's the news. That's the news for the podcast. Thanks everybody for coming back. We appreciate it.
Oh, I thought that was the end of the show. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was like, goodbye.
This is our announcement. We have new music.
I didn't
Goodbye.
say anything.
No, we haven't, because we have a new section that I wanted to get into. I like to call it Acknowledgements and Apologies. And this is the segment of the show dedicated to our Canadian listeners. That's because we say sorry for everything. So first of all, going back to episode 30, when we were first trying to do video and audio and a new format to the show and everything, wanted to acknowledge that if you're watching the video version of episode 30, it actually cut off early. We were about 10 minutes from the end of the show when my internet shut off. And because I reached my quota for the day. No, that's not true. We went ahead and finished the audio portion of the show and released it into the podcast channel. But I do apologize if you missed the last 10 minutes of the show. If you wanted to hear what we said in that segment of the show, it's always out there for audio listeners. Hopefully we won't have that same problem this time. I've done some rejigging of my machine so that hopefully we won't have any kind of wireless issues this time. I'm hardwired in now, so we might even have better quality. Who knows? The other thing is I was recording audio and recording video at the same time last time, and I'm not doing that anymore, so I'm not trying not to tax my machine as much. That led to some interesting audio skipping around. So you might have noticed that I was talking on the audio version of the podcast, and then all of a sudden I would maybe skip a word or two, and no, I wasn't having a seizure. It was actually because my CPU was not able to keep up with all the stuff it was doing, and it was missing part of the audio that it was recording. So only my side was having problems because DJ's computer was doing fine.
In the virtualization world, we call that contention.
Yes. We had a lot of resource contention on my CPU. I don't have an i7, so we're not exactly, I don't have an Avid setup over here. I'm just my little gaming rig trying to do all this stuff at the same time. So.
And I wanted to throw out that I'm sorry for all the sorries, because, what better way to be Canadian?
We're very sorry. We're a sorry couple of guys.
We did get we got a smiley face so far in the chat, so.
Good.
Yay, live chat.
Hey, you know what? That may be our first live reaction for Beyond Boss Fights ever.
There's 5 people watching us right now.
Okay.
I don't know who these people are.
Now I'm nervous. It was a lot easier last time when there was a big fat 0 in the chat room. No pressure. Anyways.
So yeah.
Let's move right on into what we have been doing since the last podcast. DJ, I've been talking a little bit now. Why don't you go ahead and go first?
Yeah, so I've been a busy little bee, of course, with real life simulator, as I call it, on top of some gaming. I decided to just lay into some games my spare time. I'm playing Farming Simulator. I'm playing a modded Minecraft, Final Fantasy IX on the PlayStation 4, which is fantastic, by the way. And I've been juggling around my entire YouTube channel. I found out that I had just dozens and dozens and dozens of unpublished videos. I don't have no idea why. Like I streamed something to Twitch or I recorded something and I uploaded, but I never published it. So I decided to schedule it like one video a day. And when I looked at the calendar here, if I was to make a new video today, it would not air until July 19th.
And you're doing
a little bit of a backlog.
One a day, you said?
Yeah.
Wow. What have you been doing?
And some of them are like hour-long videos too. So I'm like, some people are like, well, if you want to YouTube, you should cut your videos up into like 20-minute chunks. I'm like, one of them's like 2.5 hours. I'm like,
well,
how many days that would take?
You're going to have that consistency thing down now, and by the time you get to the end of July, people are going to expect that you're still releasing every single day.
I know. Well, I mean, the great news is, less than 2 weeks, I'm going to be in Wyoming, so I got my vacation backlog set. So,
well, I put this show, our rebooted episode from last month, out on my YouTube channel, and that's the last thing that I put out there about a month ago. So I'm not doing the consistency thing quite as well as you are.
Now, are you planning on re-screening these live shows, I guess, for a live replay?
What do you mean by that?
Well, like last show, you ended up like re-streaming
yeah.
episode 30.
That's true.
I think you could schedule that now.
Yeah, that was something I was really just playing with on Twitch. But if people want to do that, I thought it might be interesting because we did for the first one, we didn't really tell anybody we were going to do it, so nobody was there. So my thought was, well, I'm going to try this replay feature on Twitch, and then you can actually schedule when it's going to replay the episode, and then you can still be in the chat room interacting with people, which might actually be a better way for me to do it because when I'm doing a live show, I'm really, really bad at interacting with people. So bad, in fact, that I didn't even bring the chat up today. So if anybody's going to chat with us, it's going to be DJ responding. But it's kind of an interesting feature to be able to replay that and then relive the episode live with, well, not live, but recorded with some folks in the chat room.
Relive the episode with Autobots.
Yeah. I didn't, nobody showed up when I replayed it, so I was still just chatting with myself. But it was an interesting feature to try out. And if, one nice thing about it is this is probably not a very convenient time for a lot of people to show up and watch live. So if there's a better time, maybe like a Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening or something, maybe that's something that we'll end up doing with all of the episodes. I'm not sure. We'll just have to see what the user feedback is on that because, I mean, if nobody wants to do it, I'm not going to do it either. So I'm taking time out of my day to sit there and rewatch something I've already recorded. But
a certain male hobbit in our chat room just said, we can talk about Brax behind his back now.
Yeah. Yeah, like you don't do that anyway. So, I mean...
Yeah, so you're still playing ESO hardcore, right?
Yeah, as we talked about last time, I kind of get into a game and do it for a long time. It could be 6 months before I'm done with ESO at this point. There's really just so much content, and if you only play an hour or two a night, it takes you a really long time to get through it. One of the things I wanted to talk about tonight was guilds in MMOs, and the reason was because since we recorded last, I actually joined not one but 2 guilds in ESO, new guilds. I was already in some that I got into early on, and but I never really I didn't really get too much into those guilds. I didn't get to know people very well, and some of them, like I was in Sig's guild, but it's more of a raiding guild. So I actually asked him, is it all right if I free up a slot and get out of your guild because I'm never raiding with you guys? And he was like, yeah, go ahead, get out. But I joined 2 guilds, and the interesting thing about it was one of them was a well-established guild. It was kind of like an old school application method. You actually went to their website, you filled out like a form. One of the guild members contacted you and kind of asked you a couple questions, and then they gave you an invite in game. They just kind of a screening, make sure that they weren't some bringing a troll into the guild or whatever. But what I found with that guild is it's been around for several years, very well established. The folks know each other. I didn't know anybody really that well, and it was very, very difficult to get into. When I was playing Lotro, I was in a really good kinship that I eventually became an officer in, and it was somewhat small, but it really enhanced the experience. You know, it was something that was it was probably about half of what I looked forward to doing in the evening when I got into the game, was just talking to the folks that I knew, goofing around and unwinding and things like that. But with this new guild, it was like I had a really hard time getting into something that was so well established, and relationships were already formed, and they had inside jokes, and, you know, all this stuff was really, really difficult. However, I joined a second guild in about a week later, maybe 2 weeks later, that's tied to the Lore Seekers podcast that I've been listening to for ESO. And the Lore Seekers podcast is new as of about 2.5 months ago. And so a lot of the people they just formed this guild, you know. They formed this podcast and they formed the guild. And so a lot of people joining are somewhat new to the game, or returning to the game, or just started listening to the podcast. And so everybody's kind of in the same spot. And it's kind of interesting because being there from the beginning, I'm getting to know people as they're getting to know other people all at the same time. And it's become much more valuable experience to kind of get to know these folks and answer questions and ask questions and kind of maybe start doing group content together when not a lot of people have done it before. And it's been a much different experience than the first guild. And I guess my original question after I joined the first guild was, are guilds even worth anything anymore? Is it still worth joining one in an MMO? Like, because I had never had another experience like that Lotro kinship since it fell apart, you know? But now what I'm seeing is that maybe they are still worth something. But it's just very, very hard to find the right one, you know?
Yeah, I could totally see your point about playing catch up, right? And I think at this point, like, as a casual player, I don't even know if I could join a guild unless it's like in Lotro, right? If I was to join a guild, it would almost be like a role playing or like a musical guild, right? There's no way anybody can start the game and be like, "Oh, I'm going to join a raiding guild." It's like, no.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, we're already in Mordor, you know? And the only tertiary thing to that is like I joined the Lotro still, I think, like year 5, right? And the guys I was playing with, we formed our own kinship, and that was great because we were always on. But then one by one, they just sort of dropped off and went back to WoW or, you know, whatever at the time. And I was literally left in a kinship by myself. So it was kind of that was really lonely.
Yeah.
You know, and that's when I reached out to like Golden Star and them, and, you know, they sucked me into their guilds or their kinship. So those are the long days. I long for those days again. Do you remember those innocent days of MMOs? But yeah, I it's like you almost are forced to play MMOs socially, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if you could play. You would get a much different experience if you intentionally didn't do any of the social aspects in an MMO, right?
Yeah, and I think that was kind of part of where my question was coming from, as to, are guilds still good anymore? Because ESO especially is it's designed almost so that you can play probably 75% of the content solo. It's designed very much to still appeal to those fans of the single player Bethesda games, right? So that's what I mostly do. I mostly just do questing and exploration in those games, but it is kind of nice. And one thing that this new guild does very, very well, and I think it enhances the experience, is that they do have a Discord channel that you can access any time of the day. Obviously, you know, it's not like the old kin chat in Lotro where you could only see people when you logged into the game, right?
Boop, boop, boop.
Yeah. I mean, you can keep up with people all day long if you want to, and this is something that I was always
even out of game too.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I was kind of monitor it at work.
I was always kind of surprised that MMOs didn't grab onto that. You know, come up with some kind of a mobile kin chat or mobile guild chat app where people could actually keep in contact throughout the day, instead of having, I guess, maybe that defeats the purpose because they want you to log into the game. But I would think that enhancing that social aspect would keep guilds and kinships together longer, and maybe keep them playing the game together longer. I don't know.
Yeah, some discussion from some people in chat about when they joined Lotro. People are chiming in with their their Lotro dates.
Yeah,
They wear that badge proudly.
they should, man. 11 years. That is crazy. Crazy
Yeah,
for a video
I
game.
was telling my like I joined when it got added to Steam. I can't even remember when that was.
I
A
have to go.
long time ago.
I don't even know if they still have the web page that shows when I joined. They used to have a web page that when you logged into it, it showed what day you created your Lotro account or something like that.
Oh yeah, that was on the Turbine site.
Yeah, so I don't
Yeah.
even know if they have that anymore. I used to go back and look at that because I would
Lost.
forget too. I think it was early 2012 for me, I believe. But
Let's see, it's Koala Tiny Snowflake 24/7 says I joined last year. Or,
Oh.
no, I'm sorry, first year. I'm sorry, I thought it was an abbreviation of last year.
no, that she didn't. Yeah, that's
Year.
my daughter. She didn't join first year at
What
Lotro.
was that last year? Oh yeah, there was this typo
Yeah,
last year.
yeah. That I don't. She would have been too young.
Wait for the updated. Oh, she's sitting next to you.
Yes, she's sitting right next to me, and she's in the chat room.
Tell her she's never going to be an IT person if she's making that few
Hey,
spelling mistakes.
pipe down or you're grounded.
Yes, the fist of justice. Took revenge on someone in chat. Oh, that's too funny.
Anyway, yep, I would be interested to hear what other people's thoughts on guilds are because I was going down the path of they're not really worth much anymore, and then I found this other one. I thought, well, I'm second guessing myself. I
Yeah.
thought maybe we were at an age now where all these other social media outlets had kind of taken over that in-game social climate that we used to have, but I don't know. Maybe it still exists just in a different form.
And honestly, like, who even joins like a crafting guild who doesn't have like 17 alts anyways?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one thing that ESO does is that if you want to sell anything to other people, you have to be in a guild because there's no worldwide auction house. So you
Okay.
actually have to be able to. You can only sell to your guild members, basically, in the guild store. So, I mean, that was kind of ingenious, but it's also a little annoying sometimes because you have to find one where it's actually active in selling. But anyway, moving along, I think we probably beat that one up enough. You wanted to talk about Fortnite.
Speaking of beating up, my Prime loot just popped up saying that I get a Fortnite in-game loot, and it's somebody dancing. I do not understand. Okay, I threw this topic out here so you could have some fun.
Yeah.
Explain Fortnite to me and use crayons if needed. Like I have, is it just like is it like a TF2 graphic overhaul of like Pug or whatever that is it just like a last man standing kind of a thing?
Yeah, exactly. And I think the only way to explain Fortnite is with crayons, so that was a good call. No, I mean, I joke, but it is actually, I think it's kind of a fun game to watch. I'm not much on watching other people play video games for the most part, but I really do enjoy watching people play this one. And it's
Really?
So how much do you know about it? Just are you joking with me or?
I'm not. I'm dead serious. Like,
Okay.
Everybody's always talking about Fortnite, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is.
Well, it's a huge game. It's huge. I mean, I think
I realize there's a lot of money in streamers and everything.
Like a month ago, it became the most watched game on YouTube over Minecraft for the first time.
Wow.
So yeah, it's really, really big, and it took off fast too, a lot faster I think than Minecraft even did. So it is basically the best way to describe Fortnite to somebody who doesn't really understand much about it or has never really watched it is that Fortnite is Hunger Games, and basically what happens is you parachute onto a map. You decide where to parachute onto this map with 100 other people, and there's resources to find, like guns and ammunition and wood and steel and bricks and stuff like that. And as the game goes on, there is a circle that continues to shrink to push the players together into a certain spot on the map. So you can't just hide out in a certain spot and stay there the whole game and live forever. And so there's different game modes. Probably the most prestigious one to win is the solo mode where everybody's against everybody. They also have squad modes, like 4 teams of 4. They have duo modes, and they have a ridiculous game of 50 versus 50, which is just like I said, it's just ridiculous. And I don't even really understand that game mode, but it's interesting to watch because there is not only a first-person shooter / survival aspect to it, but there's also a building aspect to it. So people who are really, really good at the game, or even just people who are somewhat good at the game, have learned how to. I don't know how the blueprints work, but you can build walls. You can build walls with doors in them. You can build walls with windows in them. You can build ceilings. You can build floors. And people who are really good at them can throw these things up in the middle of combat in order to disrupt the people that are shooting at them.
Just like, where'd the building come from?
Yeah. So they throw this wall up, and then they'll build a ramp, and then they'll build a ramp so that they can get the higher ground and shoot down on the person who was shooting them. And then both guys are kind of doing that, and they're trying to get. But if you overextend yourself and somebody shoots the ramp out from under you, you can fall to your death too. So I mean, there's a little bit of strategy to it, but it's also very fast paced, because I think one of the best things about it is, when you die, you don't have to sit there and watch the rest of the game. You basically can jump right into the next one and try again.
Okay.
So it really a lot of kids play it because it keeps their attention really well. And also, fast twitch, first person shooter type stuff. I mean, it's I don't think it's something that I would enjoy playing, but I really do enjoy watching it.
You enjoy watching the carnage.
Yeah. I mean, there was one time when my 11-year-old was playing, and he was, we were actually trying to get him to go. It was like Sunday morning. We were trying to get to church. I'm like, come on, you got to get this game over with. Usually his games last like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Well, this one, he was in the top 8, and he got it all the way down to him. And all of a sudden I noticed it was him, and it was down to 2. So it was him and one other guy. And he literally saw this guy across the map. I don't know how he even saw the guy. He pulled out his sniper rifle and just shot. And I don't think he even aimed. But he shot just far enough in front of this guy that he actually headshot him from the other side for a #1 victory royale. And I was like, and we were all standing in the room. The whole family just started cheering. we were like, that was the best victory we've ever seen. And he, as an 11-year-old, he gets so excited anyway, whether he wins or loses. He either gets super angry or super excited. And this was just, this was kind of one of those. So it is fun.
Does it also balance like aggressive players versus like noobs? Like, does it auto balance that, or is it just kind of random?
Nope. They just throw you in with everybody.
Just good luck.
Yeah. So there's certain areas of the map where there's more resources, like abandoned cities and stuff. And that's kind of like, I don't know if you watch the Hunger Games, they say in that movie, they're like, don't go to that place that has all the weapons first, because it's going to be a bloodbath. That's exactly what it's like. So it's almost better if you kind of parachute off into the country a little bit and just find things here and there. Yeah, start with
your way up from a switch.
Because if you go into the towns where the chances that you're going to get taken out within the first 2 or 3 minutes is pretty good.
And then the wolves came.
And it is what is it? Was it PUBG? I think is the other one. That is, I've only seen that one played a couple times, but it's a much more strategic and slow playing version of this.
Mm-hmm.
It's
okay.
It's a lot more.
I had a bunch of friends that played that. And I kind of got bored watching that.
Yeah.
If you're not playing it, it's just like
Fortnite is like PUBG arcade mode. Is kind of what it's like.
Okay. I will. Okay, by next episode, I will check out some streams or something.
Yeah, you should. It's actually pretty. It's pretty neat. It's a neat game. I can see the appeal for sure for other people.
So I threw this question out there: what the heck happened to AR gaming? Like, was Pokemon Go the best and last?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like the other day we were bored and we were out somewhere and my kids were just bugging me crazy, and I knew we were near this place that had a ton of Pokestops. I'm like, you know what? Let's just fire Pokemon Go. And I realized I had uninstalled it, so I had to reinstall it, re-authenticate. I'm like, here, just take my phone, stop bugging me while I shop, right? And it was funny watching him like start over with Pokemon Go. I'm like, they had added some new features and all sorts of fun stuff, but I'm like, that's when it clicked in my head. I'm like, was this the best that we had got? I mean, you know what I mean?
Where's all the rest of them? Yeah, you'd think there'd be at least a
Where's the
ripoff out there.
future? Anything,
And
right?
I feel bad.
Not even a ripoff, right?
I feel bad because I forget which podcast that I declared this the next phase of gaming in, but boy, was I wrong. That shows what I know. But seriously, I mean, you look at it and you're like, this is where it should be going, right? This is where we're talking about augmented reality. We're talking about using the world around us. People keep wondering when is gaming going to evolve with the technology, and that just seemed like something that made so much sense.
Nobody really has VR headsets. Let's be realistic. That's probably like 5%, acceptance rate amongst like hardcore gamers. Everybody's got a damn cell phone. And these cell phones are just getting faster and faster and faster, right?
Well, yeah, and one problem I will tell you that I think Pokemon Go had was, and this is probably going to be with any mobile phone game right now, is that it just took too much battery.
Yeah.
I mean, when they're actually selling battery packs for the game, there's something wrong.
If you keep it plugged in while you're driving.
Oh, you see, you're cheating. you
got to slow down.
You're supposed to walk. The whole idea is to get exercise.
Don't drive and play Pokemon, please.
No, don't do that.
But it's made for some good YouTube videos, though. People crashing their car while playing YouTube.
I will say that I've noticed on our neighborhood Facebook page that there have been people calling out to see if there's other people wanting to play Pokemon Go still.
Really?
However, from what I can tell, it's not the kids like it was before. It's people.
Hardcore.
Yeah, it's people our age that are out there doing the Pokemon Go thing now.
Well, to them, it's probably cool again, right? They could just be like, well, all the stupid people have gone home.
Yeah, it was. Let's say if they're our age, they don't care if it's cool anymore.
Well, not cool. Cool's a bad word.
Yeah.
Sorry. All the annoying people have left.
But I agree with you. It seems like there should be something else out there that that would take advantage of that type of technology. I mean, you've got it all right there in the palm of your hand. You've got you got the compass, the gyroscope, you've got the camera, everything. It's just, I don't know what it would be though. I don't know what it would be besides catching something.
As a spin of that, I actually loved when Bethesda came out with that Pip-Boy app that you could plug into your computer and use it while you were playing Fallout 4.
Oh,
Do you
right.
remember that?
Yep.
That's another thing I wish people would just, that was a fantastic feature.
Yeah. Did you actually have the Pip-Boy?
I did not mount it to my arm. No, I just set it in front of me.
Yeah. That was one of those things that I didn't really understand why people bought it. But I mean, I'm not to disparage anybody, but that's just not something that I would want to have laying around the house. But yeah, I mean, that was interesting too, because I don't even remember what that companion app did now.
It basically acted as your in-game, like if you brought up the menu, you could have like the map, or you could show like your inventory or your health stats, right? You can do that, and then like if you were like on the page where it showed like your limbs, like you get crippled or whatever, on the Pip-Boy app, you could actually touch that limb and it would stim pack that limb.
Okay.
But I mean, I used it mainly for the map, right? Because you have the map up basically on the corner, next to your screen.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Otherwise, it's kind of a novelty.
Feature.
Yeah.
Devs, take notes. We loved that stupid stuff. So I put down, you put down Stranger Things 2, and I'll start this with, I finally finished watching season 2.
Good. I did too.
Let's spoil.
I did too. Yeah. Full disclosure, Beyond Boss Fights is a spoiler-filled podcast. We don't even try. So if you want to skip ahead, we're talking Stranger Things too. Yeah, and I had only started, I think I was only 2 or 3 episodes in when I wrote this down on the show notes last week, and we didn't have time to talk about it last week. Yeah, I wish. But since then, I've had time to finish the whole series, and I will say, I think I can say almost definitively that I liked it better than the first season.
Yeah, it flowed a lot better, and another thing is like the first season, it kind of had this like Lost thing going where like you were so confused and there were so many new things,
Yes.
and it was just like it was very sci-fi-ish, right?
Yes.
Where you're like, I'm trying to figure out how this world works, and
Yes.
now that we like understand it, it was more about dialogue and plot and character interaction, right? And
Yeah.
I totally agree with you on that point.
That's exactly how I felt. I felt like I already knew the characters, so I didn't have to worry about any of that anymore. I already knew where they'd been. I kind of knew their history. And
Dude
the other
shows up with a spiked baseball bat. You're like, oh yeah.
the other thing that I thought they did better with was I kind of felt like in the first series they were really beating me over the head with the 80s thing.
Yeah.
And with the second one I just kind of felt like it was just a part of where they were, they just happened to be taking place in the 80s instead of, throwing all this stuff in my face to make sure that I knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is all very true.
Now the one thing I didn't like, again spoilery, the one thing I didn't like was they seem to be getting into this habit of taking the most innocent and likable character in the entire season and killing them off.
Yeah.
Now they've done that twice now.
But are they dead?
I think poor Bob is dead. I'm kind of feeling like Bob is dead. Now Bob, if you don't know, is the Sean Astin character, and he was really he had no character flaws. Basically, he was like the nicest guy.
Oh my God! You know what happened again?
He
played his same character. He played as Samwise Gamgee. Like he was the Guardian. He stood up against the force of evil to protect people.
He worked at Radio Shack. How much cooler could you get in the 80s than working at Radio Shack? And he founded the Hawkins AV Club. They talked about after he had died. He was somewhat accepting of Winona Ryder, as crazy as she was, and her character, and still took her in and had kind of a father-son relationship with Will. And he was just a great guy, and of course you can't have any great characters in Stranger Things, so they killed him. But I would say that I kind of was hoping he was going to make it, but I kind of in the back of my head knew that he wasn't going to.
Yeah. There's somebody in chat asking if they could talk in the background. Apparently they want to say something.
I had enough trouble getting my own theme music to play. I don't know how I'd be able to get... We're not taking calls here, folks.
Caller 1, you're on the air.
Maybe someday we'll figure it out.
They killed Bob because he wasn't strange enough.
Oh, maybe so.
So true.
Maybe so. That's a good...
Cheers to that comment.
Yep. He wasn't... Yeah. He was a thing. He just wasn't strange.
Yeah, the wife and I, we binge watched the last 4 episodes in one night, and that was a roller coaster to the end.
I like Steve a lot better in this one.
Yeah,
he was kind of a dweeb in the first one. I didn't really like him too much, but
he brought his bat.
Yeah, he stepped up, man.
I knew I was like, there's no way they're gonna be able to kill that thing, and then like 15 of them showed up. And you're like. Run!
Yeah.
The one kid's like, abort.
Well, the one thing they did to make you like Steve was they brought in the guy that was even more of a jerk, who drove the Trans Am.
Yeah, I thought that plot point was going to go a lot further. I thought for sure that kid was going to bite it, right?
Yeah, they're going to do something with him. They got something planned for him.
Yeah.
I think. It seems like I don't remember how many seasons they have planned out of this now, but I thought at one time they said 5, but I don't know. I just see things pass by on Twitter and then I kind of forget what they said. So,
hang on, let's do a search.
All right.
Stranger Things.
DJ's doing some research.
Renewed. Seeing it's renewed for season 3 by Netflix officially.
Okay, so officially we got one more, but probably more.
Yes. Yeah, so that's the official statement. So we got more Stranger. It'll be even stranger. Because when they showed the very ending, you're just like, oh, that thing's still open, isn't it? Like it's still there.
Yeah.
Like despite all of her telepathic nose bleeding ways. Fredless says stranger things.
I hope
Yes.
that the plot point in season 3 revolves around Will's bowl cut because he needs some help.
Yeah.
That poor child needs a new haircut. I don't even remember him being that bad in the 80s. I know we had him, but
I'm surprised that kid has a brain left after all the
Yeah.
stuff he's been through.
yeah, he's just a little thing. Yeah, poor guy's been through a lot.
Yeah. It'd also be the last thought from before I forget. It'd also be interesting to see him have the dynamic of finding more of the telepathic girls. I thought it was interesting, and it was an interesting plot point.
Yes.
And how she found somebody and she thought she was part of family, and then she's like, wait a minute, my real family isn't here, right?
That was actually, I was going to say something about that too, because that was actually probably my favorite episode of the whole season, when she went to the city to find the other empath or whatever.
She found 8.
Yeah, she found number 8. And it was completely different tonally from the rest of the series.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like, to me, it felt like a Dagobah scene in The Empire Strikes Back,
Mm-hmm.
where Luke where Luke goes, he finds a mentor, and then he realizes that what's really important to him is somewhere else.
The power of friendship was in you the whole time.
Yeah. yeah. It's like, this isn't you, 11. This is not you. You need to go back and do what you were supposed to do with your friends. So, yeah, I
find 007.
I really enjoyed that episode, and I wasn't sure when it first started where it was going because it was so much different. It was taking place in a big city. I think it was Chicago. Taking place in a big city. It wasn't in Hawkins. It didn't have any of the other main characters in it except 11, but it was really good. I think I'd watch that one again.
So we're getting some disagreement in chat. Fredless says that was his least favorite part of the season, and he doesn't think it added anything useful, and he felt like it was only there to gauge interest in a spin-off. Interesting. They go all
are they
Marvel
gonna do a
heroes. Well, I mean, I can see his point. They go all Marvel, and suddenly every single number kid gets their own spinoff.
I think, you know what? I think I was just at that point of the series, I was ready for something a little bit different because it had, okay, how many big walking spiders can we see? It
was nice having a branching path,
Yeah.
right, where they kind of flip back and forth between stuff.
Yeah, and I think I think at the end of the day, it did have something. It did have a lot to do with Elle's character arc because she came back and was much more appreciative of what Hopper had been doing for her. So,
yeah.
Okay, agree to disagree.
So we can lump these next two things together because they're perfect. Red Dead Redemption 2 announced October 26th. You've already put your foot down saying no. And Westworld Season 2, aka Who Let the Robots Start Shooting Humans. These are perfectly married together. Perfectly good topics. So obviously, I don't know if you're a Westworld fan, right?
I like the concept, but I've never seen it. Is this an HBO show? I forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have that.
I'll send you a copy.
Okay.
So you can catch up. Yeah. The robots are just off the chain, so I won't spoil it.
It's based on an old movie, isn't it?
The old movie is horrible.
Okay.
Oh my god, it's horrible. It's like same idea, but it dated. It hasn't aged very well at all. We went back and watched it while watching Westworld originally. I'm like, ugh, this is not good. So Red Dead Redemption 2. So you're putting your foot down saying because it's not coming out on PC, no. That's your answer?
Is that your final answer? Well, let me tell you.
Because the whole reason I got a PlayStation 4 was to play this game, and then it's like, oh, it'll be out in a year. And I'm like,
I had Red Dead Revolver. Was it? What was the last one?
Red Dead
Redemption 1. Redemption 1. Right.
Yeah.
Revolver was that was way back. I had Red Dead Redemption for the PlayStation 3, and much like my version of Skyrim that I had for the PlayStation 3, I did not get very far into it. And I think I just don't like playing RPGs on a console. That's really just kind of been my history. So
but
yes,
it's Grand Theft Horse.
I know it is. And I really want an Old West RPG. I really want one. In fact, I was almost tempted to look into Wild West Online when it came out last week until I saw that the way they were selling them, the more money you paid, the more inventory slots you got. And then I realized it was going to be one of those inventory management games because so then I lost interest at that point. But I really do want to play in a Wild West setting. But man, I don't care about it on the console. I just don't. I don't like controlling it that way.
I think I'm actually going to pre-order this game. I know that sounds horrible because that goes against everything to my core. But like I want to play this day one, like the second it comes out. So you can watch my stream and tell me how much you enjoy not playing it.
Okay, I will. And you know, I might be convinced, but I don't think I will be. I've been every time I see something tweeted out about this game, I tweet right back at Rockstar and go, PC version, man, I will pay you now for a PC version. And they just don't seem to. I mean, the press likes to chase that angle. They tend to think that it's going to come out on PC eventually. I've talked to people on Twitter who think it's going to come out on PC eventually. I'm not convinced because Red Dead Redemption 1 never did. It was always console only. So I think they just don't really care that much about the PC market. And so
that's sad too. Because I mean, look how much money they made off Grand Theft Auto 5. You're just like and everybody's been begging them for a sequel to this game.
Exactly.
It's gonna like break the earth when it comes out.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I think. I do think it'll be a good game. I'll just play ESO for 6 months. Who cares?
Oh, okay. You can play Fortnite that day.
Yeah, maybe
they'll have like Red Dead Redemption hats or something.
Oh yeah. Speaking of which, I did want to tell you. I forgot about this when we were talking about Fortnite. They're doing an Avengers crossover with Fortnite right now.
Really?
Yeah, it's really pretty interesting. They
get that commercial tie-in, right?
Yeah, and the way this came about, this is the most interesting part of the whole thing. I'm not even going to go through the gameplay, but the way this came about was that the Russo brothers, who directed Infinity War, are huge fans of the game. They played it like between takes of Infinity War, and so once they got to this point where they really liked this game, they actually contacted the developer, the president of the company who developed it or whatever, and said, "Hey, let's do something with this." And he was obviously a huge fan of all the Marvel movies because geek. So they all got together and said, "We're going to do this Infinity War crossover with your game." And so, unlike a lot of the other intellectual property ripoffs that Fortnite does, they actually had permission to use Thanos in their game on a certain game mode for a limited amount of time. It's really pretty cool.
Huh.
There's an Infinity Gauntlet too.
Sweet.
Yeah.
This next bit's for the live video watchers. Hang on. See if we can do this right. Cobra Kai for life. Okay.
Give him the body bag, Johnny.
Have you watched Cobra Kai yet off YouTube? Not YouTube Red. Don't watch YouTube Red.
It's only on YouTube Red, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's nefarious ways to get a hold of the show. Let's be real.
Okay, so tell me about. I used to love the movie. Obviously, I just the
Cobra
right
Kai.
age to love the Karate Kid movies. Even the second one.
Opening scene of Cobra Kai starts off with the infamous last fight between Johnny and Daniel, right? Do the crane kick, blah blah blah. Fast forward, Johnny's like a handyman repair guy. He's fixing a house and he's getting constantly dogged on, and like he's losing contracts, and next thing you know he's getting a call from his boss and he's getting fired, and he's drinking and driving and he gets Johnny's just having a horrible life, and then he crosses paths with Daniel LaRusso, and that's when the real plot sort of takes off. You could tell that, like, at first I thought for sure that it was going to be like a buddy movie, but it's like suddenly it's just like, oh God, they're still enemies. This is going to be great. And then he starts up, plot twist. He starts up the old Cobra Kai dojo to start evil training people again in karate, basically.
Evil training.
And that's where I left off. without getting too spoilers.
We haven't actually. You haven't spoiled anything because I think the preview already went through all of that. I did watch the preview for it, and it did seem like they already kind of gave that part away. The part I loved really the most about the preview was that Daniel is now a used car salesman.
Yeah, but he's like a successful one.
That's
right?
perfect. That is exactly like that whiny little kid. That's the kind of job he should have.
He hands out a free bonsai with every car. These are the best.
No,
the people watching at home, these are the best $6 I ever spent on Amazon.
Yeah, and if you're on the audio version, DJ keeps tying different types of karate bandanas around his head. What do they call those? Is there a name for those?
It's just the headband. I have the Cobra Kai one, and then I got the Karate Kid. I'm tying them around my headphones though, so so I can hear your laughter as I change my headbands.
I used to have. This is really weird to think of, but for whatever reason, at some point, we used to have action figures back in the 80s and 90s. They had a Karate Kid line of action figures that look kind of like He-Man action figures. They're about the same size.
Really?
And for some reason, I had the Cobra Kai instructor action figure from Karate Kid Part 2, and he was only in about 5 minutes of that movie.
I know.
But it was the Karate Kid Part 2 version of him, and no other Karate Kid action figures. I don't know where I got that one guy from. And you couldn't do anything with him. He's the instructor. What's he going to do?
One of your obscure uncles showed up to a birthday party late, like, here you go. And
right.
Like, what? Thanks.
I found this at Kmart. I thought kids would like it.
It was in a bargain bin. Karate's pretty cool, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that movie. That was one of those movies. I might have even owned the Karate Kid Part 1 book at one point, the novelization of the Karate Kid.
Wow.
Which I don't know why. They weren't. It's just so, I don't know. It was so 80s, and I was the right age for it, I guess. Good guy gets beat up, and finally beats up the bad guy.
Now I gotta find that. Okay. Well, the only last topic I want to throw out there, and we just quick blurb. Stardew Valley multiplayer is now officially in beta testing on Steam, and if anybody with Stardew Valley in their Steam library can go out and follow the instructions and play multiplayer Stardew Valley. Does that not sound wonderful?
Do you know how that works?
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you asked. I found this fun article from Polygon. This made me laugh here. Including the multiplayer beta is the ability to play farm with up to 4 other players who will work as your farm hands. Although that makes them sound like they're subservient to whoever the farmer is hosting the multiplayer session, all 4 players will collaborate in farming, mining, taking part.
It sounds like a pyramid scheme is what it sounds like.
They can even change the difficulty settings to decide how much they divide up the profit margins. Visiting players will also get married to the host town NPCs as well to each other. This includes divorcing each other too. After that, a player can destroy the cabin each farmhand posts up in, really convincing them to move on out. I'm just like, oh my god, that sounds fun.
Okay.
If any of the listeners out there want to get drunk on a weekend and play multiplayer with me or Brax, if you got it, we should do that. I
should grab it. I've heard so many good things about it.
It's such a cute game.
I know. I was turned off by the pixie sprite thing. It's just not really usually my style, but I've heard that it's really good gameplay and it's very addictive. So it's probably one I would enjoy. Maybe when multiplayer comes out, if it's still not too expensive.
See, by the time multiplayer comes out, it's too late because people are going to ruin the charm by divorcing and torching your house and stealing the money and running off with your dog.
It looks like, it's like the same style as the Lotro Players RPG that you did, right? It's kind of the little pixies running around.
Okay, let's move on.
So I did. I did throw out the Ask Us Anything last time. I would still like people to write in and ask us anything they want to ask us. We got one response last time around when I threw out an Ask Us Anything. What do you want to ask us?
It wasn't a cease and desist?
No. No, not this time. Maybe after we answer the question.
Is that the laugh track in the background?
Yeah. Oh, my daughter she just learned that we have an Ask Me Anything section, so we're probably going to get some questions now. We reserve the right not to answer, you know.
I don't know.
You don't need to know too much about your dad.
Oh, you know. Well.
And our history. Yeah. So anyway, the question from Fredulous, longtime friend of the show. Fredulous asked us, if your family was lost in space, what's the first argument you'd have? I think this is a tip of the hat to the Lost in Space series now out on Netflix, which I've also started watching, by the way, and maybe we'll talk about next episode.
I think I'm gonna skip that one.
Oh, it's kind of cute.
Okay. I'll put it in the queue.
Yeah, at least
that's all I promise.
Just watch the first one. Watch the first one anyway. This is easy because I have 4 children. They would definitely be fighting over the Xbox.
Not me.
Whether we were lost in space or not, that's what they're going to be fighting about.
I wouldn't be.
You would be fighting
honestly,
over something. Yes, you would.
My kids are young, so the first thing they'd be complaining about is them wanting to use my phone to play a game on.
Yeah.
While I'm using it to try to get us unlost in space.
Yeah.
I guess, does that make sense?
Yeah, they're probably.
I'm assuming that my iPhone at that point could do space trajectory kind of calculations too. So
either that or there would be a lot of finger pointing as to,
yeah,
you know, who forgot to pack the Oreos or whatever. Now we're lost. Who's gonna get the bag of snacks? The Cheetos.
Apparently, someone in the live chat is typing in a question, so let's move on real quick.
We'll take one more question if there's one in the chat room. Why don't you just ask me? You're just sitting right here.
There's a delay. Brax takes the specs from the customer and gives them to the engineer. He's a people person.
All right. She's actually just trying to think of one. So
no, I'm
next episode then. Time's up.
Anyways, I did forget to start our online timer, but luckily I'm just noticing that there's a timer on OBS, so we're actually in pretty good shape. I did want to say thank you for everybody tuning in last time and giving us feedback. DJ, I think, wanted to say a couple things about that. He was kind of surprised by the by the reception we got.
Oh yeah. I kept telling Brax over Twitter, I'm like, is this normal? Like, coming from some shows that are very niche, I guess is the best way to say it. It was amazing to actually get some good feedback from people, and the feedback was all great. And I think we were split like 50-50 sort of between audio and video, so our idea of sort of doing a little bit of both, I think is still a good thing going forward.
Yeah, I would say that probably part of the reason we got a lot of good feedback was because we'd been gone for so long, and there was a lot of people that followed the show before and enjoyed it. We're glad to see that we were doing something, even if it was something completely different. And so I think that was probably part of why we got a lot of feedback for it coming back. The other thing, though, is I think that I don't want to sell the audience short, because I think I had a lot of very close followers for the old episodes. I think it was something different, and even though it was niche and it was not a huge audience, it was a very dedicated audience, and I think that has a lot to do with
proud, strong people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even going to lie about that. The people that liked the show really, really liked it, and I always got a lot of very positive feedback from those folks, and I always really appreciated it. So, and we've said it before, and we'll say it again. We're not above taking some positive feedback to keep us going. We're also not above taking some negative feedback if there's some things in the show that you'd like to see changed. We're here for you guys as much as we are for us, just hanging out and having fun. So We're not above tweaking the show. Appreciate anything, especially iTunes reviews, but even if you just want to contact us directly and let us know what you think.
People.
Yeah, we're pretty open.
We're reachable celebrities.
I don't usually go off on people when they contact me directly. And speaking of which, I did want to let you know that you can send any of your feedback to braxwolf@gmail.com, and if it is relevant and if you would like us to, I'll read it on the podcast. Also wanted you to remember that Beyond Boss Fights is also on iTunes, and we would appreciate your ratings and reviews over there. We haven't had one in a while, and we haven't had one since we rebooted the show. So if you wanted to re-review the show, that would be fine as well. Beyond Boss Fights is also on Stitcher still. You can add it to your playlist. And this is something I neglected to mention last time, but by the way, Beyond Boss Fights is also now on Twitch at twitch.tv/braxwolf. So archived on YouTube as well. I'm not going to give you that URL. You know how to find it.
Y'all know how to use Google.
DJ, where can folks get a hold of you if they'd like to?
Easiest way is my Twitter handle. It's at DJ Pimp Daddy. I'm unfortunately connected to that most of the day. And then, of course, you could always email me at djpimpdaddy@gmail.com. Pretty much anything, Steam, Twitch, or anything else, YouTube, just search DJ Pimp Daddy. It's me.
And I would suggest following DJ on Twitter because he makes me laugh on a daily basis, and I appreciate the levity that he brings to my day.
Speaking of laugh on a daily basis, we're going to end the show soon because I apparently kicked something and the piston's deflating in my chair. I'm not sinking into the floor. It's not like a quicksand thing. I'm just like, the chair just went.
We did all this work to center you in the middle of the shot, and now you're just sinking right out.
The microphone covers my face now. Like, is this thing on? Like, something has happened to the piston.
All right. Well, we will get moving then. And as far as getting in contact with me, you can follow me on Twitter at Braxwolf. That's BRAXWOLF. And you can email me, as mentioned before, at braxwolf@gmail.com. Appreciate anything you guys want to tell us. And we really wanted to say thank you for tuning in. We will see you again next time.
Bye.